Hi there everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is Rachel with RE/MAX Realty Brokers, and today I am here with Robert Wilson. Who else? The main mortgage man. So today we're going to be really letting Robert sort of lead the way here. He's got a lot to say about the current state of affairs in the mortgage industry. So take it away, Robert.
All right,
Let's get started.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
So Robert Wilson, Wilson Mortgage, big market update. What's happening? So it's the end of January roughly right now. We're going to see we're going to have a wild year. We have a new regime in office of president. So, you know,
regime, don't say it like that.
Oh, geez.
Not a regime.
Edit that out.
Oh my God.
We got a new president. So we got a new group of people in office.
Yeah.
Different policies, different things. Current president has been very vocal on pushing rates down.
Mm-hmm.
Can it be done? I hope so. We could use some lower rates. Rates still, you know, a little tough. You know, average rate, we're looking in the 7% range. You know, upper sixes to make people feel better. 6.9, 7.0. Splitting hairs here between the same payments. Hope to soften the blow for that. We did get softer rates last year, September, October, for just felt like a couple weeks, and then they went away.
Yeah.
So it's on the docket this year for rates to go down. So let's talk about, should you buy? What should we do? Should we wait for rates?
Mm-hmm.
Home prices, they're up. So home prices are up about 6 to 7%. So,
okay. Yeah.
So what we're seeing is people are getting tired of rates not being lower, but they're just like, I'm buying anyway.
Right.
So we're still getting a little bit of the competition, even with the higher rates. So if you're a client out there, you're like, well, I just want to wait for that rate to get back into 5s. It's probably going to happen this year.
But when?
Statistically,
I think that's what everybody really wants to know.
My guess is this summer.
Yeah.
That said, I also, direct quote, said, rates are never going to go to 7% or anything crazy. So I may not be the best with the guess.
Can we find the video where you said that? They're never going to go to 7%.
I told dozens of people. So now I'm telling all of you.
Well, let's just say this first. Nobody has a crystal ball. None of us has a crystal ball, okay? Robert doesn't have one, I don't have one, so we can make these like predictions, but we don't know for sure what's going to happen. And especially now, there is obviously a huge amount of uncertainty economically, people's personal lives, you know, there's just a bunch of uncertainty with the new president. So I think everybody's like sort of teetering on edge a little bit, but yeah, I mean, what do you think, Robert?
So what I think is going to happen is this. I think it's a great time to buy. I think rates will come down. I mean...
Well, yeah, they are going to do that. There's no question about that.
So, I mean, I'm a big fan of buy now and then refinance from the comfort of your own home, because there are just less people in the market. There's still competition. It's not just set your price, put an offer in, and people are taking it. We're still seeing some of that multiple offer scenario, but it's not outlandish. We're not, you know, $50,000 over ask price or anything like that.
No, nothing like that. Those days are over. The waiving inspections to get the offer accepted, crazy amounts over list, all that's over. Now, homes are still selling or can sell relatively quickly, and some are sitting on the market a little bit longer. So it's sort of a market where it's like one way or the other. It's either the house goes really fast or it's sitting for a while.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And I think when we get to these lower rates, we're going to see a big influx of new houses on the market too.
Yes.
I think we've got a lot of people that have those magic rates of 2-point-something%.
The magical ones from 2021.
Correct. They got that house and they're like, oh, the rate's 2.5. So they've got hilariously low rates, but they're not ready to move to 7%. But they also hate their home because it's been half of a decade. Yeah. And they're just ready to move. Life has changed. So we've got a big shift of people that are just waiting for 5-point-something to come out. Yeah. So I think when rates go to the 5s, it will get more competitive, because I think it's just a lot more tolerable to go from, we'll say, 3% to 5% rates than it is to go from 3 to 7s.
Yes,
you know?
Of course.
So I think we're on the cusp of that, which also brings us some inventory, because I think almost all those people, they're going to have something to sell. So I think we're going to see a lot of homes that have been just sitting secretly, waiting to list. I think they're coming. I think it's going to be a pretty wild year. I could see some almost 2021 spice of some properties that do have 6-10 offers on them again.
Yeah, I can see that, which I think a lot of buyers don't want to hear that though, because they don't want to be, we don't want to go back to the days where we're like, well, we have to waive all these things so that we can get a house. I did notice as I was looking at some stats today that listings are down Now I don't know if that's January. It could just be January. See, we're not very far into 2025, right? So I don't have a lot of stats for 2025. This could be just a January scenario because historically January has low inventory. So what do you think about that?
I think our January specifically in our area, probably low. We had crazy temperatures that were crazy low. Personally, I didn't want to go outside. You know, with like negative something. It's not negative anything normally. So, you know, people just aren't doing the things we would normally do. January's slow historically, super slow this year, I think, is a kind of weather. I don't know, I heard a rumor that there may be an El Nino for February. So
a what?
El Nino.
What does that mean?
I heard it means warm weather for February.
Oh.
So if it gets warm, we might have spring market come early. People might get excited. I saw this on, it's not as trustworthy as a news channel. I saw it on a reel, but I'm going to take it for fact.
Gotcha.
Because I want that warmth. You said it'll go right into March.
Yeah.
But I think as you know, the temperature warms up, the housing market always warms up here.
Yes.
It's just a fact. So that may be coming sooner. And again, I do believe, I mean, it's very clear the current president is putting a lot of pressure to get rates down. Do I know where that will land? No. But I mean, he's saying he's trying to push them for the 3s and 4s.
Oh, that's where he's pushing.
He's pushing it hard for low. So even if we undershoot it and we hit the 5s, like, okay. You know.
Right. Well, that's definitely preferable to 7s.
Yeah.
Without getting political, what do you think of like some of the tariff stuff? Like, do you think that's going to have an effect on the rates?
Absolutely. We got all kinds of things that are going to happen. I mean, there's been some crazy stuff. I mean, we may get rid of the IRS. You know, we're going to have an external revenue service.
Okay.
So
instead of an internal revenue service.
Yeah, right. We'll have other people pay. I don't know how any of that will shake out.
Right.
I know that it will probably impact us in our market. We'll probably see a change in rates on it. You know, it could be just like all policies. Sometimes it can be super favorable for some people and super unfortunate for some, would be my guess. But hopefully it's a big, my hope is just regardless of what it is, it's a big uplift for a society.
Well, I just think that there's people that are worried that these tariffs are going to make their lives more expensive and that it's going to have the opposite effect of what they were hoping it would have. What do you think about that?
I think that's possible. I would assume, though, that the people that are making policies are better at policies than me.
Okay.
So I'm just going to default to them not completely just butchering this.
Right.
You know,
yeah.
and maybe just working out. So I'm going to go with, let's hope for that.
Yeah,
let's hope it's going to be.
Right. We can't, you know, it is what it is. We can't change what's going on now.
So the inflation we've had recently has already been, you know, it's been a lot to handle. It's a little spicy. So let's see. I mean, we have there's always something happening, right? Like sometimes we have those bird flus and eggs are $10 for a dozen.
And that's right now.
And that's currently happening. So there's always something in the market. Who knows? There's a lot of turmoil in the Middle East as well. Like, I mean, I don't really understand exactly how oil prices work, but hopefully they come down.
Well, since we are going to be drilling onshore,
should push them down.
Yeah, that will definitely push the gas prices down. But as for interest rates,
don't know. But they say they're going to drop. I like to think they're going to drop. We've had years and years and years of not dropping.
Yes.
So let's call it.
We've had enough correction.
Yeah.
We've had enough correction from 2.5% or whatever it was.
Yeah. I think let's go back to that happy 5s.
Yeah, and I think, you know, I think 5, 5.5, 4, 4.5.
Yeah. Maybe
that's all very realistic.
Yeah.
You know, I think hoping that things will go back to 2s and 3s, which I know there are people my age that hope that, it's not going to happen. It's not realistic.
Yeah, I'd say not this year. It'd be quite the fall.
But
that said, I also thought it was unrealistic to go from, you know, essentially 2s to we hit 8 for a little while.
Yeah.
So I would have not imagined that either. So it's like if it can shoot up, it can also come careening back down. I mean, rates have been in the 3s a number of times throughout my career. So not just like a one-time thing. Like before COVID, we were in 3s.
Okay, when? I don't think it was ever when I was in business.
A few times actually. Like 3.875 is kind of like my magic spot.
Actually, that was like 2016 numbers right there.
Yeah. Like even like 2012 numbers right there.
Okay,
like there's a lot of times that like upper 3s, low 4s are just like a nice little staple.
Yeah.
Right? So we'll see. At this point, like I'm pumped for 5 anything.
Yeah.
You know, like 5 anything would just be ideal.
Yeah, and even if you do buy in the 7s or the high 6s, you will have plenty of opportunities in the years to come, hopefully, to refinance.
So let's talk about the refinance thing real quick.
Yeah.
So a lot of people ask me, like, Robert, am I going to pay all the closing costs again for a refinance? The short answer is no. There's not all of the closing costs. Is it free to refinance? Also, not really.
No.
So it depends on how the deal's structured. Oftentimes I offer my clients what truly is a free refinance. So I'll give you a quick example on how that would work.
Okay.
I've got clients that bought, we'll say, 8% a while ago. It was terrible times. When we had that nice little rate dip, I would call them and say, hey, rates are lower. And instead of offering them, 6.25, which is realistically kind of where we were hitting, right? I'd say, hey, I'm going to give you 6.625, but it doesn't cost anything because I'm paying you a lender credit to cover your fees, right? So in essence, there still was a cost because it's the higher rate that they got their market rate. But if you went from 8 to 6 anything and it costs nothing, and then you wait and see how the market goes and the market keeps falling, because let's say it does. You do it again, you go from 6 to 5, 5 to 4, and so on. No, it doesn't always work out because if you ever think like rates are as good as they're going to get, then it makes sense to just pay some of those fees and ride that mortgage out for 30 years. But even then, we still see you don't want a really long break-even point because the people with the 2% rates, they went out of their homes for the most part. Most people, 5 to 7 years, people are ready to move.
Well, I heard it was now actually 12 years. What do you think about that?
The average for moving?
Yeah.
See, but I'm sure that's because people are stuck, if that's a real number, because people don't want to move. Like, people don't want to stay, they just are forced to stay because they got a low payment.
Right, but I think that's what it is. I think people have that 3.5% or whatever it is, some floating in a 3 somewhere, and they're like, well, it's just not my dream home. It's maybe a little small. It's, I bought it in the pandemic. I hastily bought it, and but it's what I got, and I'm grateful for it, and I'm going to stay here,
Yeah, I think a lot of people had their 2 to 3 year home that they were stuck in for a lot longer than anticipated currently.
Yeah.
And as these come down, I think that 12 number, if 12 is correct, and I think we're going to quickly turn that back into 5 or 7.
Okay.
I think we will have a big shift. I think it's
5 or 7?
Like 5 to 7 year range.
Oh, okay.
Like I think we're gonna be a huge year of real estate. I think it's gonna be a lot.
In 2025.
I think 2025 is gonna be wild. I think it's gonna be one for. It's kind of like the record books of the earlier, like the pandemic kind of times. I think it'll be way better because we don't have all the masks going on. I don't think we're gonna have as much crazy over offer, but I think we're gonna have a lot of just consistency of people like, no, I'm ready to buy. And I know I'm still going to get great numbers for my home. Home values are still up, right?
Yeah.
They're still going to get the money out of the equity. Because we have a lot of people that didn't pay that much in the pandemic either. So they paid low, super low rate, but now they're going to go up for that next tier home. And some of them are actually going to skip a tier. We're going to go a couple tiers because they waited so long.
Yeah.
Like, well, it was just the 2 of us, and now there's 6 of us living here. Like,
that's a lot.
I don't know if those numbers work, but
that's a lot of kids to have, and
maybe 2 or 3 to clip. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, you never know. That is true.
A litter of children.
Yes.
But no, I think we're going to see a lot of moving. I think there's going to be a lot of houses hit the market that are for sale, and it's also what entices people. Like, I browse homes just because that's what we do every day. But like, when something hits the market, you're like, oh, I wasn't planning on it, but maybe I could see me moving there.
Yes.
That's how it works.
Yeah.
It's car dealerships.
Yeah, that's true.
If you show up, you buy a car. They get you in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really have a ton to add from a real estate agent perspective. I think the stats that I'm seeing are pretty much on course with what I've been saying for the last 6 months. So I just think lending in particular is a big concern for people right now.
The thing the market right now it's flat. It looks flat. It feels flat. It's freezing cold.
Well, it warmed up a little today.
The weather started right.
Yeah, it's like 40 degrees outside, which I always joke that people are going to be outside in their flip-flops and tank tops like this in Pittsburgh, 40 degrees, after the 10-degree cold spell, whatever it was.
Far too cold, far too long.
Too cold.
I'm telling you, we're going to have some good listings that are coming. I think rates are going to come into a really sweet spot here for buying.
Yeah.
So.
But as I always say, that is going to have its own cause and effect. Competition's going to be up. That means less negotiation power for buyers. But if you find the right house, we've got a way to get it for you.
We do. I think you have a 60-day window here personally before we really get into March Madness of things.
Yeah.
Like, I think you have 60 days right now for the competition. There's still some, but it's not crazy. And I think this year is going to be one where like, oh man, I wish I would have bought with a higher rate. I wish I would have got 6.9. And then in the fall, been like, you know what? I'll take 5.75 or 6.25 or something, and just got the home. I think we're going to see a lot of people full of regret for waiting for spring market. Like, of all the times, yes, are you going to get a better rate? I absolutely believe you will. Are you going to end up in more of a fierce competition? I believe yes. So to me, I'm buying homes right now.
That's where I come in. Even though there's fierce competition for some houses, I do have strategies to hopefully be able to get you the home that you want. I can't guarantee anything, but that's where the realtor comes into play. And with Robert and I helping you on your home search, home buying journey, we've got you covered.
That's exactly right. And Rachel does a wonderful job with that. Works on a bunch of transactions, you know, being able to directly reach out to the agents, structure the deal.
Negotiating power is huge. I mean, I you know, eight plus years in the business, and I know what I'm doing. So,
and between the two of us, we've done a lot of deals in under 20 days. So it's a winning combination. So
yeah.
All right, Rachel, one other thing I wanted to touch on here is the investment property. So we've seen a slowdown on investment properties as well as just regular properties, just with rates being up.
Yeah.
But investors, they're not as sensitive to the property. It's not as emotional. It either works or it doesn't.
Right.
So for the investors listening, right now rates are still up, but if you can make a deal work, it will say 8.5% for an investment property. It's certainly going to cash flow when we get to these rates to drop down. All of a sudden it's at 6. You're making money. So the rest of the investors are waiting too. We all run our numbers. Everybody's out there. It's like, does it work? Does it work? So right now people are like, that kind of works. And they may say no on a deal that's a home run deal 6 months from now. So it may behoove you to grab one of those properties that's on the fringe that it does work. But you don't love it.
Right.
Like the margin would be like, there's like $150 more a month. And there's so many investors that I've dealt with that don't do a deal because it's $100 a month off or whatever. But just redo that math with a little bit lower rate. We may be 6 months away from that deal working great, and all of a sudden it's off the market and you can't even get it. So keep it in mind that you may want to buy the investment property that does work, just not as well as you want.
Yeah, give me a call, 412-926-0806, or email me at the email below if you are interested in potentially buying a home in Pittsburgh, and Robert and I will be more than happy to help you out. So thank you so much, Robert, for coming onto my channel today for our little market update. Hopefully we can do these as the year progresses to give you guys more of an update. But again, if you are interested in potentially buying a home, you know where to reach us. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you all later. Bye!